I'm 11. I'm
What,
10.
wait?
Yeah, I'm 10. Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you. You all set?
Yep.
Williamson County Regional Planning Commission is now called to order. We do have a quorum. Do we have any announcements, staff?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Items number 28, 29, 33, and 34 are on your consent agenda for deferral. And finally, the public meeting to present the draft of the table of uses and the draft regulations for the Arrington Village District that will be created will be held next Wednesday, April the 15th at 6 o'clock at Arrington Elementary School. The draft of the table of uses and the draft regulations are on your desk and can also be found on the county's website. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. The next item will be the minutes for March 19th, 2026. Has everybody had a chance to read the minutes? Do you have any questions or any additions? Motion for approval. Have a second?
Second.
Motion made and second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. The next item on the agenda will be the consent agenda. I understand that Sharon and Keith will be recusing themselves from this.
Yes, please.
Okay. Does any of the commissioners want to take any of the items separately, or shall we hear them as a whole? Seeing none, we'll take it as a whole. All in favor of the consent agenda signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We have a motion on this, I'm sorry.
Motion to approve as per recommendation.
You have a motion, have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 27, Terra Vista Road Drainage and Erosion Control Bond Update. The applicant present?
Brett Thaney, representing Jones Company. Do we want to pull up the timeline, or you just want me to give an update, or?
It's up there. Or it was up there. It's up there. It's up there.
Yeah, it's up there.
So for Section 2, the slope repairs were approved, and, sorry, I tried looking at here. They were approved. We got the letter that has been submitted to T-Squared from the geotech. So that has been turned over to T-Squared. The biopond regrading, we've checked it twice every week for since the last meeting, the last couple months. Still too wet. We've gone in and dug a hand swell trying to help it drain, but it's still too wet. Has about an inch of water, has for the last couple months in the bottom of the pond. So still waiting for that to dry out. We're meeting the engineer on site to look at some stuff for phase 1 tomorrow. We'll look at that and may propose a different fix to try to overcome the groundwater that's coming into that detention pond. The wastewater road, we received the bid for the, if you recall in the last meeting, the new scope of work we received a bid for that work. We are also looking at an alternative, given what that scope of work was, that will get the county's thoughts on. We're considering paving that road in lieu of the gravel, and depending on what the county's take is there. And then the road course sample report was turned over to the engineer. That was completed from the geotech. And if the county doesn't have it yet, they should. Both of those reports should be coming or have been turned over. And we'll see what comes out of that, the county's take on that second phase of the road core report. So depending on what happens with the road, hopefully we should get the service road built in the next 30 to 45 days. Section 1, we received as well the bid for that on Tuesday, so we're going through that bid, and we're also, that's part of what we're meeting the engineer on for Section 1, to go through some of those items and talk about some proposed fixes. So that's on track, and we've just got to work through that bid and make sure the scope of work's correct for what was bid. So in terms of timeline on one, I'll know more once we physically start, but right now we've gotten an estimate to do the work. And then trees, the 8 trees, I'm meeting a landscaper tomorrow. I think it's actually 5 trees at the bottom of the berm and 3 up by the road, not 8 down there, but we'll confirm that, and they'll get planted in the next week or 2. And then happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions of the applicant at this time? Thank you.
You're welcome.
Continuing the old business, item number 28 and 29 were on the consent agenda. Item number 30 is public hearing, and no one is signed up for the public hearing. So at this time, it'd be item number 30, amendment to the subdivision regulations regarding exploration of the plat without security. Staff?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We have the amendment up on the screen for you. So you may recall in recent months, we've had several requests to add non-agenda items to your agenda. And these were requested to approve several final plats whose approval had expired. And the reason these had expired was because they did not require posting of sureties, I'll get it out, such for infrastructure improvements, and the primary reason for them to expire was that the applicant was unable to acquire the signature for the utility district within those required 60 days to record the plat. So the proposed amendment will increase the amount of time to record these final plats without surety from 60 days to 90 days. And this increased time, we believe, as the staff, will provide the applicant with sufficient time to acquire those required signatures and record the plat. So I just want to point out that currently, plats that do require the posting of sureties have 90 days to post the sureties and then 120 days to record the plat. Staff does recommend approval of the text amendment. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you. Any questions of staff on this item? Do we have a motion on this item?
Move for approval for staff recommendation.
I have a motion. Do we have a second? I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 31 on the public hearing would be the amendment to Article 11 and 23 of the zoning ordinance regarding the use of non-traditional wastewater treatment and disposal systems within the urban growth boundaries. Staff?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So in November of 2024, Williamson County and all of the municipalities adopted the Williamson County Growth Plan. And this growth plan was to ensure the system of the urban growth boundaries function as efficiently as possible. That was one of the goals. Strategy 1A of that growth plan sets forth that the counties and the municipalities will work together to create and implement interim policies related to development within those UGBs. And the strategy included allowing or prohibiting the use of the wastewater systems within the UGBs. County staff met with the staffs of all of the municipalities to discuss the placement of these systems inside the UGBs, and for various reasons, the municipalities did not want the systems located within the UGBs, and staff does agree with that. So the growth plan revised the boundaries of the municipalities and now includes parcels that are zoned both Rural Development 5 and Rural Preservation 5. And the zoning ordinance permits these types of systems within those two districts, regardless of whether or not the property is located inside or outside of a UGB. These systems are not permitted in either the MGA 1 or MGA 5 districts when used in conjunction with new residential developments. They're also not allowed at all within the municipal growth area hamlet districts, the MGA-H districts. I do want to point out that within the MGA 1 and MGA 5 districts, the uses are allowed when they are serving individual uses, such as a school or a church. The text amendment that we're proposing will prohibit these systems on property zoned RD5 and RP5 when the properties are located within a UGB and when are proposed for use for a new residential development. The text amendment also adds the definition of urban growth boundary to the zoning ordinance. The use of the systems for such as a school or a church within the RP5 district, that's whether it's located inside or outside of a UGB, will be permitted as they are in the MGA districts. Staff believes the text amendments are consistent with the county's longstanding policy prohibiting the use of these systems within the UGBs for new residential developments, and we recommend approval of the text amendment and that the attached resolution be forwarded to the county commission with a recommendation for adoption.
Thank you. Any questions on this item?
What is the practical impact of this? Like at the sixth grade level, what's the difference between the systems and why within the urban growth boundary now as opposed to not before?
So and Mike, jump in if I misspeak. So before, all of the properties within the urban growth boundaries were zoned either MGA 1, MGA 5, or MGA Hamlet. With the revision, it now includes properties that are zoned Rural Preservation 5 or Rural Development 5. Systems are allowed in those two districts. So in talking to the cities, the retrofitting non-traditional wastewater system to a municipal system is difficult and costly. And so, the cities did not want them in the urban growth boundaries. And Mike, did you have anything to add?
Well, I'll just say quickly that the policy for many years has been not to allow these systems in the growth boundaries except for those individual uses like a church or a school. And that's the same policy that we've continued to have and have now. The only difference is that now we've got a few areas that are zoned with RD5 or RP5. And so we're just wanting to make sure that the same policy that we've always had is now reflected in this zoning district when they're in the UGBs.
Okay. So this is a matter of cities looking at the UGB, thinking about if that ever became part of the city, how they would connect to those systems.
And that they would present an impediment to their annexation because, they don't have those kind of systems. They have public sewer, and retrofitting those would be difficult. So that's just been the policy for many years. The county staff has always agreed to that, and each of the municipalities feel the same way. So.
How would the average homeowner within the UGB feel about this change? Is it going to be more costly, more burdensome, more timely? What would this do for those folks?
I think that most people who are in the UGB who want to develop their property want to get annexed and go on city sewer, and then have it be developed in conjunction with the city's policies on growth and development. So I think it would be the same as it always has been for properties within the growth boundary. We've just got some properties that recently added to those growth boundaries, and we just wanted to be consistent across the board.
Okay. If it's a property that doesn't have an interest in being annexed, how are they going to view this? Is it limiting their options?
If they don't want to be annexed, they probably don't have designs on developing the property very intensely. And so, they'd be a little bit more limited because they'd be looking at septic or requesting sewer from the municipalities. But that's, again, that's consistent with the way the policy's been for many years.
Okay. How does this align with what the task force has been working on and the recommendations that are coming for the septic department?
It doesn't have a direct bearing, although if properties in the urban growth boundary develop with septic systems, then it's going to be a lot easier and less costly to do so, given the work of the task force.
Okay. And this change would not be an impediment to that work?
That is correct.
Okay.
I have a question. If someone has a property at the furthest end of the urban growth boundary, not next to the city or whatever municipality, on out, is there an appeal process for this to get a variance on that?
So this would be a use variance, and the Board of Zoning Appeals can't grant a use variance. We'd have to do an amendment to the zoning ordinance.
I think you understand where I'm coming
I
from
do,
on that.
yes. Mhm.
What happens to that piece of ground for that property owner?
So they could develop it under the septic. They could do individual
Septic?
septic. Yes, they could still do septic, individual on-site septic systems, yes.
And I would just add that these two zoning districts are 1 unit per 5 acre zoning districts. And so the use of non-traditional systems, isn't very common for low-density development like that. It's much more common that septic systems are used.
And my understanding of the question that was just asked, if you're in that urban growth area, if the city decides that they want to take that land or take you over, you don't have a choice, because unless you go to the state for a appeal, right? That has nothing to do with us, but I mean, that's just, we have to. If you're in that area, it's designated for the city to be able to take it at some point.
Yeah, now the property owner would have, the ability to say, I don't want to be annexed, and the cities wouldn't automatically be able to annex them, generally speaking. And there's also a mechanism for people to request to be removed from the growth boundaries. They're not set in stone forever.
I wanted to get a point, I think this is what you said before, or what I understood was, this is how it has been within the UGB. It's just that recently, when we redefined those UGB lines a little bit, some properties ended up inside the UGB that are RD5 and RP5 that weren't in before. And so we're not putting an undue hardship on them, like this is what we apply to anyone in the UGB.
That is correct.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Any other questions? No other questions? Do we have a motion on this item?
Move for approval.
Motion to approve. Do we have a second? Motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. We'll move to item number 2 in the concept plan. Concept plan for Willowstone Estates, containing 25 lots on 186.62 acres located off of Clovercroft Road in the 4th voting district. Staff?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this is the property. We're going to zoom into the two properties located on Clovercroft Road real quick. Excuse me. This is the natural resource protection plan on the two properties. There are moderate and very steep slopes. There are slippage soils, substantial woodlands, and ponds and creeks with the established waterway natural areas. 83% of the development parcels will remain in open space, and 90% of the existing tree canopy will be retained. This is the concept plan. It's located on Clovercroft Road. You can see Clovercroft Road there in the red at the top. The property totals 184.62 acres. You can see it outlined in the pink. It does connect between the two sheets there. This is a 25-lot conservation subdivision. You can see the lots there in the dark blue. The lots are between 1 acre and 1.77 acres in size, and the overall density is 0.14 units per 1 acre. There is 153.43 acres of open space. You can see that there in the green. The roads will be public, and no turn lanes were required for this development. Water is provided by Nolensville College Grove Utility District. Sewer is handled by the Clovercroft Acres non-traditional wastewater treatment and disposal system that's located on the adjoining property. And finally, staff recommends approval with the standard conditions outlined in the staff report. I do want to point out that the applicant does desire to revise the concept plan in the near future to add additional lots, and that revision will require a revision to this concept plan and the wastewater site plan for Clovercroft Acres. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Is the applicant present?
Afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the commission, Joshua Denton here on behalf of the applicant, and I've got the engineer, Mr. Wilson's here as well. Glad to take any questions y'all may have.
So, Mr. Chairman, I have a couple of questions.
Sure.
So it's not going to be gated, and you don't foresee it to be gated?
It will not be gated because we've worked with staff, and because it connects with that existing development, which has public streets, that has to stay open, so it won't be gated.
Okay, and on the revision, where would the proposed extra sites be? Is that in the big area at the bottom of the?
Yeah, it would, I think, you see the road that's kind of looks like a T.
I do.
think there's the thought is there would be some lots that could potentially go there, but you'll remember we were here back in February
Right.
and we didn't have enough capacity. What we've done is now tailor this to the capacity that's available.
Right.
And so that'll take the expansion, and that'll obviously be subject to your all's review and approval.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
If it's, you're noting here that the applicant already knows they desire to revise the concept plan, like, help me understand why we should approve something tonight when you know you're already going to send us a change.
Yeah, it's because we meet the requirements and we're only asking for 25 tonight. So something could change and we could decide not to ever ask for more lots. But so we've had discussions with staff, been very candid that we think if we can get the expansion approved and all that can work out, we would likely come back and ask for the additional lots, but that may never happen. So we designed it to what was available, and as we understand it, would meet the criteria, so that's why we're asking for approval.
Any other questions? Seeing none, do we have a motion on this item?
Motion to approve for staff.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Final plats, item 35. Commissioner McCullough, you're going to recuse yourself from this, I understand?
Keith?
Yes, recused,
Thank you. Final plat review for Telefaro subdivision containing 27 lots on 196.93 acres located off of Telefaro Road in the 5th voting district. Staff?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The property is located off of Taliaferro Road, shown in red at the bottom of the screen. The development totals 196.63 acres in size and is shown in the dark blue. It contains 27 lots, shown in the pink. The purpose of this revision is to make the roads private and gate the subdivision. Water is provided by the Nolensville College Grove Utility District, and wastewater is handled by a non-traditional wastewater treatment and disposal system. The revised final plat is in order, and staff recommends approval with the standard conditions outlined in the staff report.
Is the applicant present?
Hi, Daniel Walterman, T-Square.
Do you have anything to add to staff's report?
No, sir.
Are there any questions to the applicant or staff at this time? Seeing none, do we have a motion on this item?
Motion to approve for staff, make recommendation. Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Is there any further business for the commission at this time?
Motion to adjourn.
We're adjourned.